Good afternoon, Algebra 2 folks. Welcome to the quadratic formula. You need a pen or a pencil, your calculator, and a notebook. Okay, let's get started. So, a long time ago, people only knew how to solve using factoring, square roots, and completing the square. But some brilliant guy said, this completing the square stuff is so repetitive. There's got to be a way we can make a formula out of it. So he came up with the quadratic formula. The quadratic formula is the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now, the b squared minus 4ac is called this discriminant, and it'll tell me about my solutions. Will I have real solutions? Or will I have imaginary solutions? So how did the quadratic formula come about? Well, if you want me to give you the proof in class, ask me, okay? I'm not going to do that, but basically what it does is it comes from completing the square. But I'm not doing all the steps. But like I said, you want me to prove it to you, you just ask me and I'll prove it to you. All right, here we go. Let's work with the quadratic formula. Okay, example number 1. X squared plus 2x minus 8. Okay, equals 0. What are we going to do? We're going to use that quadratic formula. Okay, there it is. I got it there just in case you need it. We have to identify A. Oops. Okay, my board is kind of off here a little bit. Sorry about that. We need to identify A. We need to identify B. And we need to identify C. So A is the number in front of the x squared, which is a 1. B is a 2. And C is a negative 8. All right. So now what we're going to do is we are going to plug those values into our quadratic formula. Opposite of 2 is negative 2, plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4 times A, which is 1, times C, which is negative 8. All over 2 times 1. All right. Now, the cool thing about this is the discriminant is going to tell us if we have real solutions or not real solutions. And we always need to figure that out as we're going through. You can't just put this in your calculator and think you're going to get an answer. So the next, we're going to rewrite it again. So it's negative 2 plus or minus the square root. And let's figure out what this discriminant is. Now, if you want to put that in your calculator, you can. You just can't use the square root. So you can do 2 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 8, and you will get 36. All right, and that's all over 2. So we know that if the discriminant is a positive number, we will have real solutions. Oh, how about that? And what if the discriminant is negative? Well, then we'd have imaginary. Okay, so that's really going to tell us if we're going to have real solutions or imaginary solutions. So if it's positive, they're real. So we're going to have real solutions here. We will not have any i's as we go through and figure this out. So let's go ahead and keep simplifying. This would be negative 2 plus or minus, oh, what's the square root of 36? Well, that's 6 all over 2. Now, there's 2 answers here. Because I have a plus or minus, there's 2 answers. So we got to split this up into two parts. Negative 2 plus 6 divided by 2, or negative 2 minus 6 divided by 2. Negative 2 plus 6 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2, so one answer is 2. And negative 2 minus 6 is negative 8 divided by 2, and that is negative 4. The other answer is negative 4. Do you see any i's in there? Nope. So they were real solutions. So that discriminant's kind of nice. It kind of keeps us in check of what kind of solutions we're going to have. Okay, example number 2. First thing you do is identify your A, B, and C. A is the number in front of x squared, which is 1. B is negative 6, and C is 7. Okay, we're going to use that formula again. I got that up there. The opposite of B, opposite of negative 6 is 6, plus or minus the square root. Now here's the tricky part, because you don't want to say negative 6 squared like that. because you'll get a negative number. Remember, when you square a number, you need to square the whole number. So you need to square the entire number, the negative 6 quantity squared, minus 4 times 1 times 7, all over 2 times 1. All right, here's the discriminant. Let's figure that out. 6 plus or minus the square root of, let's see, if I plug that into my calculator, I am going to get 36 minus 28, I believe, and that will be an 8, okay, all over 2. Now 8 is a positive number, so that will be real solutions again, okay? So then we're going to go ahead and keep working this through. 6 plus or minus, oh, the square root of 8. Can't that be broken up into the square root of 4 and the square root of 2? The square root of 4 is 2. Square root of 2 all over 2. Okay? And then if you can get to here, that is awesome. But if you can go one step further, we can actually, because 2 goes into 2 and 2 goes into 6, 2 goes into both of those parts, we can actually reduce this down into 3 plus or minus the square root of 2 over 1. Okay? And then that would be my final answer. But if you can get to here without simplifying, I'm really okay with that at this point. I just want you to get this quadratic formula part down before we go ahead and simplify. Okay, let's do one more. I think this is my last one. Okay, so now I have x squared equals negative 2x minus 7. So I could go ahead and do this problem just like it is, but I would get the wrong answer. Because when I use the quadratic formula, I have to have everything in standard form. So I'm going to add 2x to both sides. And then I'm going to add 7 to both sides. And I'm going to get x squared plus 2x plus 7 equals 0. So I have to have it in standard form before I can use the quadratic formula. Meaning I have to have it standard form and equal to 0. Okay, so there's the quadratic formula again, just in case we're needing that reminder. So again, we have to start by identifying A, B, and C. A is 1, B is 2, C is 7. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and plug them in. So the opposite of positive 2 is negative 2, plus or minus the square root of 2 squared minus 4 times 1 times 7, all over 2 times 1. All right, let's figure out that discriminant. So we've got negative 2 plus or minus the square root of, let's see here, that would be 4 minus 28, which would be negative 24, all over 2. Oh, I got a negative here. So what does that mean my solutions are going to be? They're going to be i's. They're going to be imaginary solutions, okay? So when that discriminant is negative, I should be getting i's in my answer. Okay, let's simplify that. Negative 2 plus or minus the square root of negative 24 can be broken down into negative 1, negative 4, and 6. The square root of negative 1 is I. The square root of 4 is 2. So I got a 2I square root of 6 all over 2. Now again, if you can get here, I am certainly happy with that. But if we can see that there are things that can be divided out, 2 goes into both of those, we can reduce this to negative 1 plus or minus I square roots of 6. So I believe that is all I have. So hopefully this makes sense, and we'll see you in class tomorrow.